$60 for Super Smash Bros. On the GameCube. $75 for Super Mario Sunshine. $110 for Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door. $260 for Fire Emblem The Path of Radiance. And finally, over $700 for Pokemon Box. GameCube prices are insane right now. Hey Nintendo fans and collectors, Lithium here from my channel Nintendo Collecting. Not only are GameCube prices crazy right now, but also gaming in general. Just collecting in general has kind of gone crazy during social distancing, but I think GameCube's probably the worst example, or the best example, of an increase of price on the system. Just to give you some background, normally a Nintendo GameCube game, on average, not these, but on average, has doubled in the last 6 months. If you want to look at the link below, it's video game price charting. It's where all of these prices will be from. I'm using US dollars, by the way. Normally, an average GameCube game went for about $15, but now they're selling for $30. All of these are a little bit more. So in this video, I'm going to talk about why I think GameCube in particular is going up so much in value. I'm also going to talk about 15 Nintendo GameCube games and what the prices were before social distancing and what they are right now. And lastly, at the end of the video, I'm going to talk about what I think is going to happen with the market moving forward. Will it stay the same? Will it continue to rise? Or will there be a bubble of sorts that might burst at some point? And I'm also just going to talk about collecting, my thoughts on it in general right now. So for the Nintendo GameCube, this is one of the best systems, in my opinion, that's ever been made. The system only sold 23 million units roughly, 21 to 23 million units worldwide. It didn't sell that well, but the people who played it love it. And it is a fantastic system. There's a reason why Nintendo's still using the GameCube controllers on the Nintendo Wii U and the Nintendo Switch. They're just that good. So that's the first reason of why I think the GameCube prices are going insane. A lot of people are waking up to the fact that GameCube is a spectacular console with a ton of great games on it that are exclusive to the system that you can't play anywhere else. Like Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, or Super Mario Sunshine, or Luigi's Mansion. There's a lot of exclusives on the system, and it's really quite remarkable how good the system is. That's my first reason. Reason number two. I think a lot of people have nostalgia for it, but also they're hitting the point in their lives that they're adults and they're trying to buy back their childhood. So our nostalgia is leading us back to buy the collection that we used to have when we were growing up. I'm definitely someone who's been doing this. You can comment below if you're one of those kinds of people as well, that you're just trying to buy back games that maybe you had them at some point. Perhaps you traded them into a place like GameStop to try and get something more modern or a modern console, and you wish you never did, and now you're trying to go back and rebuy the games and play them and enjoy them right now. So that's reason number two, mostly nostalgia. Reason number three, and it's a big one right now during social distancing, so many people are looking for the escape of playing a video game right now, combined with the fact that a lot of people's other hobbies are postponed. Most of your sports that you could be playing right now are generally postponed, and a lot of other hobbies as well. So that means a lot of people have more time for gaming. But not only do we have time for gaming, we also have more time for collecting. I don't know about you, but I'm spending way more time online, searching eBay, searching locally, even just trying to find or call local game stores or see what they have in stock if they have a website, Facebook Marketplace, Kijiji, Craigslist, all of that kind of stuff. I'm searching way more than I ever used to. So instead of spending maybe an hour a week collecting, now I'm spending several hours a week collecting. And that's also driving up the demand, which is driving up the prices for Nintendo GameCube games. So this is almost like out of boredom. Out of boredom, and we're looking for something to do, so why not play some great games on the system that we loved when we were kids, and also it has some of the best games that are exclusive to the console. So let's go through 15 really popular titles, 15 of what I would consider almost the most popular titles, combined with one or two kind of interesting throw-ins. So first of all, Luigi's Mansion was a launch game for the system. This is a black label game, so I just want to talk about this really briefly. Here, when you look at the GameCube on the side, the game case, you can see that it has a black label, and it's a black label up here. The reason why I mention that is because there are Player's Choice, or Greatest Hits. The Player's Choice versions have yellow on the top here, and also on the side they have a yellow part of the spine. I have been trying to replace any of my games that have this Player's Choice label with the original black label. most gamers and collectors are after the black label versions if they can find them. So just to compare the two Super Mario Sunshines that I have here, there you go, on the shelf. That just doesn't look as good when you have random yellow copies in there. And also, most people want the original release, so it's a little bit more desirable. As a heads up, generally the player's choice is less expensive, and it's usually about $10 to $20 less expensive than the original. On video game price charting, in the link in the description below, there is usually both copies listed, so you can compare the prices of both. But I'm going to talk about black label games, because that's usually what's more desirable. So back to Luigi's Mansion, which was a launch game for the Nintendo GameCube, which was weird. This was one of the first times that Nintendo didn't have a Mario game. I mean, Luigi's kind of Mario, but like, for the Super Nintendo, there was Super Mario World. For the N64, there was Super Mario 64. For the GameCube, there was Luigi's Mansion. But this is honestly a really good game. It's just a bit short. I really like Luigi's Mansion 3 on the Nintendo Switch, by the way. So this game was at $40 before social distancing, and now it's at $49 to $50. That's not that big of a price increase. It went up roughly 25% added to the cost of what it used to be. So I'm going to start with games that didn't increase that much, and then go to games that doubled in price during social distancing. So Luigi's Mansion, it turned from 40 to about 50 US dollars, and that's where it's at about right now. I'm just going to move these out of the way while I talk about all of these games. So Luigi's Mansion. Next up is another really popular one on the Nintendo GameCube. It's Zelda, or The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker. This is one of my top 3 favorite Zelda games of all time. This helped define my childhood. It was ported over to the Wii U, and I think that's actually a better version. There's a swift sail to make sailing through the giant open sea a lot faster, and there's some other quality of life improvements, and the graphics do look spectacular on the Wii U. But going back to the GameCube version, this one was $37 before social distancing, now it's $46, so it's still quite reasonable to try and find a copy of Wind Waker for less than $50, which isn't that bad. Sticking with Zelda, we also have The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. Of course, this game was out on the Wii at the same time as the GameCube. This game is the entire Wii experience, but flipped in reverse. They had the game with Link being left-handed in this one, so the world was a certain way, but then with the Wii, they realized most gamers are right-handed, so they reversed the whole world. Basically, everything that was along the x-axis, they mirrored or flipped, so that on the Wii game, he's right-handed. This one, before social distancing and everything, was $50. Now it's up to $78. It's also available on the Wii U as a port. So it's on 3 systems. I'd be shocked if they don't port that over to the Switch as well. That would almost make sense to me. After that, we're going to talk briefly about Super Mario Sunshine, which I already mentioned now is around $75. It was $45. So that is a $30 increase. That's an increase of 67% of the original cost. That's an outrageous increase. It hasn't doubled, but it's getting there. This sold so many copies because it was one of the defining games on the system, so it's insane that it's already going for that much. Next up, I'm going to talk about Mario Kart Double Dash. This is another one of my top 3 games for the series. This is very comparable to me in how much nostalgia I have for it to Mario 64, and it's almost right up there with Mario Kart 8, although there aren't as many courses in this game. You use 2 characters in one kart, that's why it's called Double Dash, and I really love this game. My wife and I played this all the time. So Double Dash, it was at $35, it's now at $64, almost 65 US dollars for Double Dash. Love that copy. Next up, we have Mario Party 4. I'm not going to go through all the Mario Parties. I thought I would talk about the first one on the system, because the GameCube had Mario Party 4, 5, 6, and 7. 7 is the least expensive at around $55 right now. This one right now is just over $70. It's at about $71, but it was at $40 before social distancing happened. My wife and I, our favorite, if you're going to pick up one, I would recommend Mario Party 6. I really like the night and day aspect, and that's my favorite one that my wife and I played together. Next up, we're going to talk about Super Smash Bros., kind of sticking with the Mario series, but this is everyone is here almost. And by the way, I saw just kind of a rumor, which is really funny. The back of this box has the word Brawl, and then the sequel to this was Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Then the back of Brawl has Ultimate, and then the sequel to it was Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So that's just kind of really funny. I never noticed that before. Someone pointed that out to me on Twitter. So Super Smash Brothers, this one was $45. It's now just over $60. It's $61. So that was more of like a 33% increase for Super Smash Brothers on the Nintendo GameCube. Next up, we're going to go to Animal Crossing. So Animal Crossing, right here, is a little bit different. It's a little bit interesting because this one went up not only because of social distancing, but also because of the Nintendo Switch game, which is New Horizons, and that one came out very recently. So this one went up incredibly. Animal Crossing went from $30 to $67. It has more than doubled in value, and again, that's probably because of the release on the Nintendo Switch of the new game, and also because of how great the game is, and during social distancing, that's pushing everything up. A similar circumstance to that is Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. Everyone's talking about this in the collecting scene right now. Origami King is announced for the Switch. That game's out in 2 weeks. I have it pre-ordered. I can't wait to try that out. It's not going to be an RPG game, though. It's an action-adventure game. But this is considered the best in the series. This one, a few months ago, before social distancing, was $50. It's more than doubled. It's $110 right now. I don't know how much longer it can maintain that trajectory with a new game coming out. I think it's probably close to hitting its peak, but who knows? I could easily be wrong and the price could keep going up for that one. So that leads me into a few others that I want to talk about that are great on the system, but also have games that are announced that are coming out hopefully soon from Nintendo. Soon could mean this year or next year. Metroid Prime, there's Prime and Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. We know Metroid Prime 4 is in development. Nintendo teased it earlier on, but they had to go back to development and fix a lot of things and maybe start from the ground up. So who knows when Prime 4 is coming out. You can play these games on the Wii and Metroid Prime Trilogy. That's a great way to experience the game. So Metroid Prime, the original game, this one sold like crazy on the GameCube. I used to be able to buy this for $5 years ago. But before social distancing, it was $15, and it's now around $26. So not that much. It's still not that much money at $26, but we're still talking about a giant increase from $15 to $26 in terms of percentage. And then Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, this one was $25, and it's now $36 US. So again, quite a bit of an increase in terms of percent, but these are still pretty reasonable prices. I would be more inclined to suggest that you pick these up sooner rather than later for the Metroid Prime games, because I think with Prime 4 coming out, the prices for those are going to skyrocket, just like Animal Crossing and Paper Mario did when they were announced and they were getting closer to launch. Similarly, Pikmin. We hope Pikmin 4 is coming out soon. We thought it was in development for a really long time, and the Pikmin games are honestly outstanding. These were ported over to the Wii with new play control, new motion control, essentially, with the Wii remote. So the original Pikmin game, this one right here, was originally $30, and it had a 50% increase up to $46. Pikmin Sue is a bit more expensive, so this one didn't sell as well. It was $46. It's now up to $75 for this. I think Pikmin 1's still a pretty good price. Pikmin 2 is getting a lot higher up in price, as I mentioned. There is a different cover for Pikmin 2, by the way. If you have a different cover of this, there are two different versions of the cover. And I, of course, wanted to talk about Fire Emblem, The Path of Radiance. This is another game that went up because of social distancing, but I also think because of Three Houses on the Nintendo Switch and how good that game is and how good the series is doing overall. A lot of people like me want to go back and play the earlier copies in the series, essentially. So Path of Radiance, this one's really expensive. It used to be, let me just check and make sure I'm getting this right. It used to be $150. It's now close to $260. It's at about $258 for Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. And the last one, just for fun, this one's pretty rare, Pokemon Box. This one was going for $410 before social distancing. It's now over $700 for Pokemon Box. It's at about $760 for this copy of the game. This copy here comes with a memory card that is blue and red for like Ruby and Sapphire. And it also comes with the unused stickers that go on the memory card and the instruction manual and everything else. There is a larger box version of this that you can get that comes with the Game Boy adapter, and that one's even more expensive. That one's probably almost $1,000, but this one right here is like $760. So why am I bringing up some of the rarer games that maybe you can't find as often? I want to talk about what I think is going to happen to GameCube pricing and video game pricing in general after all this social distancing is over. Until we are into next year and most people can go about their more normal lives or try and go back to normalcy as much as possible, I think prices are going to continue to be really high and steadily rise for the time being. Next year, I think prices for the really common games like Super Mario Sunshine or Wind Waker and Super Smash Bros., I think the price would steadily come back down. Essentially, what I think is happening right now is there's a ton of demand, and they're buying up all of the copies of the games because people want to experience them, they maybe want to collect them, and that's driving prices up. Because if I see that a copy of Wind Waker just sold for $50, maybe I'll try and push that price a bit to $55 and see if it will sell. And then someone sees that it sold for $55, and they try and push the price of that again, and it keeps rising prices up. But eventually, not everyone might want to keep their copy of these games because they are so common that I think prices would start to come down once we're done out of this situation. Now, there are exceptions to that, though. Games that are quite hard to pick up, games that are rarer, games like Path of Radiance for Fire Emblem, or Pokemon Box, or games that I don't even have yet that I've been on the hunt for years, like Go-Go Hyper Grind, Cubivore, Chibi Robo. Those games, because they are quite rare, Chibi Robo not as rare as the others, I think the prices of those might not really come back down. I think the collectors that are out there to get them, once they have their hands on them, they probably aren't going to get rid of them, and the prices might hold because there's not that many sales of the games that are more popular, of the games that are not popular at all. So the rarer games are probably going to maybe hold their value, or they're more likely to hold their value than the really common games on the Nintendo GameCube. What does this mean in terms of you as a collector or as a gamer? It means if you have doubles of GameCube games, this is a pretty good time to sell. I have no idea what's going to happen to Paper Mario in a few more weeks once Origami King releases, but I would expect that it's probably at the highest or near the highest it would ever be. I could totally be wrong, and it could keep going up. Paper Mario on the N64 just continues to rise, so who knows? But generally, if you're into collecting and you have doubles, this is a great time to sell. It's a seller's market. Prices have never been higher than they are right now, especially for the Nintendo GameCube. In terms of collecting, if you're looking to buy GameCube games, it means you really have to hunt, hope that you can find a really good deal and get lucky. Otherwise, you're paying premium dollar for most of these games. So try and buy locally, try not to pay for shipping. Maybe if you buy locally, you can also see it tested. That would be really good to know that it works, because of course you want your games to work when you get them. And try to buy games at less than the prices that you see on video game price charts whenever you can. So if you are buying things, I would really recommend maybe picking things up like the Metroid Prime games, maybe like Pikmin 1. Those are a little bit less expensive, and I think they're going to go up, especially with the new games going to be announced. Lastly, out of all this collecting experience, I'm just realizing something. When I was growing up and I would get one game for like the month or 2 months, like Super Mario Sunshine, I would come home and I would play this game for hours and hours and really enjoy the experience, and really just the thrill of getting that one game was so cool, especially in person or walking into a store, even a retro game store, and finding that one game that you were saving up for that you were looking forward to. Just as a comment about collecting in general, I feel like buying online is a lot emptier. I'm not really getting that great feeling when you were buying one game and looking forward to it, and that was your game for the month, because now I can buy like 15 or 20 games in a month. Not necessarily these, because most of them are actually pretty expensive, but I'm not really having that same thrill or rush that's the same in person. I loved going to video game swap meets, but around me, they're all canceled for the time being, and I'm just not getting that same experience that I really kind of miss, and it was special. It was really cool at the time. So I don't really mean to be saying like this is negative or positive. It's just how I'm feeling right now with the whole collecting scene, especially when I'm spending more time collecting online. I'm hoping to get lucky locally with finding games either on Facebook Marketplace, like I said, or even finding them on Kijiji or Craigslist or game shops, or just word of mouth or friends or anything like that. That's what I value the most. I think I would actually be willing to pay a few extra dollars to find these locally rather than just buy them online and have them shipped to my door, but that's just me. Let me know what your thoughts are on the Nintendo GameCube, the prices in general going crazy right now. Were you able to find any GameCube games for a really good deal, or are there any prices for GameCube games that you think are outrageous that you want to start a conversation about in the comments below? I would love to hear your opinion. I hate asking this, but if you could subscribe to the channel, I'm almost at 100,000 subscribers. I bring out videos on Sundays and Wednesdays, so you can look forward to that, by the way. So if you could like the video and subscribe, that'd be great. Face reveal at 100,000 subscribers, still the plan. And remember, as always, go collect them all. Keep smiling while gaming. Thanks for watching, everyone. Stay safe.